All right. Look, most are avoiding mindset because they are insecure of their own mindset, which is why they go straight to tactics, which is why they're like, oh, the mindset bullshit doesn't work, or the mindset bullshit's a waste of time. I get it. Because at one point, I was insecure myself. And now I'm being mentored by millionaire internet marketers. And I'm finally being mentored by people that took me on because they saw a drive in me. And that was all developed by focusing on mindset. And I know that mindset is the boring shit. But like I say, most people avoid the mindset stuff because they're insecure of their own mindset. So that's why they move on to tactical shit because it's shinier and it's more of like the new stuff, right? Like, what's the new software? What's the new strategy of how to do this or do that? Whatever business you're in, whatever space you're in as an entrepreneur, most people will avoid mindset by all cost, by all means, because they're insecure of their own mindset. And like I mentioned, I went through that already. And not to say that I'm this perfect person with the most elevated mindset. However, focusing on one thing and keeping it simple and consistent, you will accelerate so much faster. And everything comes from the mind. If you think about it, most decisions that we make are based off of emotions and they're all generated from your brain. That's just a fact, not even my opinion here. So you might as well focus on the things that matter the most. What matters the most to you? That's a question I have for someone today. So I want to ask you this. What matters the most to you? It may be growing your business. It may be becoming the person that you always dreamed of becoming. It may be just having a six pack. At the end of the day, what is it that actually matters to you? Is it mindset? Is it just making sure that you're on top of things when it comes to having the newest software? What is it? What is that matters to you? It may be different than what matters to me. However, the reason I want to hear what matters to you is because you got to tell it to yourself repetitively. And if you're typing it or putting it in the comments, then in a way you're telling it to yourself. Just like in sales, how, let's say for example, Jeremy Miner, right? I was filming an event where he was speaking and I got to speak to him for a little bit. And one thing I learned just in hearing him speak is that it really comes down to allowing your prospect to say things to you so that they can say it to themselves at the same time. Meaning, if you ask them, well, why is it that you even want to do this in the first place? Why do you want to learn how to sell? Well, I want to learn how to sell because right now I feel like I don't know how to sell and I want to learn how to close more deals so I can make more money. Okay, well, out of everybody, why did you choose us? What made you want to come to us for this type of advice? Well, because you guys obviously know what you're doing, and I've seen your videos, and I blah, 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 right? All of that they're telling the closer or the salesperson, at the same time while telling the salesperson all of those things, they're telling it to themselves because they're saying it out loud. That's why there's no point in filling the sentence for them because you want them to say it. Therefore, they feel in control of the frame. However, the person asking questions is the person in control in sales. Is it not true? Let me know if that is true or not. The person that asks the questions is typically the person that is in control of the sale. So you might as well know what mindset cap you got to put on in order to present yourself as an expert, present yourself as someone of value, so that you have the authority to be able to ask them those questions so that they can repeat it to themselves as well as repeat it to you. It really just comes down to what mindset are you going to have stepping into a sales environment? What mindset will you have stepping into the room? Let's say it's a room full of high-ticket people. I was filming last April or March, right? I was filming a event. It was like a mini mastermind. And it was actually full of people. I don't even know if it was a mastermind or not, but there was some very, very high level people in there. And in fact, it was held at a mansion, at a very big mansion in the Woodland Hills in Utah. And this was March 2025. And one thing that I quickly realized is that the rich people in this room carry themselves so much much better in a way where they're presenting themselves as high status. And that really is what it comes to. It is the high status that you walk in with having the right mindset. And they may have credibility, they may have a bunch of money, they may have all these success stories on their belt. However, the mindset was built based off of all they've done, all the success stories that they've made happen. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have that mindset, you can have all the success stories and everything and have all this glory that you've made happen. But if something isn't right in your mind, as in you present yourself as this super confident person, you won't walk into a room and have it at the palm of your hands. Because at the end of the day, it's how you walk in the room, with what mindset you walk in the room, and what is it that you're portraying, having that confidence in your head, having that confidence that I know what I'm doing and I'm an expert, and therefore people come to me. I don't need to go to people. They come to me. And if you walk in with that type of status and confidence in the room, knowing and truly believing that you are that person because you've built your mind that way, you will be able to architect your life by design. You will be able to design your life how you want it to portray, how you want it to be. And when I was at this mansion filming this event, I was just looking at all the wealthy people in there, and I was like, damn, you guys carry yourself so different compared to the average Joe that walks into their day job and it's just like, oh, just another day. And then they ask him, hey, how's your day today? Oh, well, just living the dream, which is what most people at a day job say, is it not? It's okay, because not too long ago, I was working a day job. I was a waiter at a fine dining restaurant, and that was my day job, right? In fact, I worked evenings, so it was more of a learning curve more than anything, because I saw how rich people carried themselves. I saw how they sat at a table, ate dinner, and interacted with their family or interacted with other business people that they were at the table with. Because in some cases, I had parties of 20, 25 to myself, and I had to manage that entire 25 people party, right? That party of 25 people. And I saw how these rich people carried themselves, and it was very high status. The person paying for the bill was typically a person of high status. They looked at him like, whoa, like he's the boss here, right? And in some cases, it was just nothing but business owners there. It wasn't even a company with their employees. It was just nothing but high-level people. And they're fighting for the check, right? It's like they want to be the person, oh, I'm paying for the check because I'm higher status, right? It's almost as if they fight for the status by paying the check. And I quickly noticed that it's a little bit different talking to rich people compared to talking to the average Joe. Because with them, it's either, please don't waste my time by telling me some bullshit, or I'm not going to talk about gossip the way you might talk about gossip. It's, what are we talking about, and what does it have to do with growth? A lot of times it was that. And you might look at that like, that's a little bit silly, but now I have so many contacts on this phone because I was willing to speak to them in a way that I can add some kind of value to what they're doing. And when you're able to present yourself with value, as in you're adding value to that person, and let's say it's a wealthy person that you might be intimidated by because it's like, holy shit, I feel like I ain't no one in this world compared to them. Well, in that case, you might be a person that has so much value, that has so much to give. And just because you don't have the finances that the wealthy person that you look up to does not mean that you don't have any value to bring to the table. It takes a different conversation to be able to get a wealthy person interested in what you have to say. And obviously, as a waiter, like, what can you say, right? You're just serving food. You're like, how's the food, right? But towards the end of their meals, when they were basically already paid, well, they already paid their check, I would typically pop the question, hey, out of curiosity, do you happen to know anyone that may need video or photo, or maybe just has an event that they want filmed? And in most cases, they would look at me and be like, do I? They wouldn't think I'm trying to sell them anything because of the way I was saying it. I would literally just pop the question in a way where I had them guessing and I had them wondering, what is it that this person is telling me right now? It's almost like a pattern interrupt because they don't expect it from a waiter towards the end of the meal. They don't expect the waiter to be like, do you happen to know anyone that needs a video or photo or possibly needs an event filmed? They don't expect the waiter to say that. It's out of the usual. So therefore, it's a pattern interrupt. And one thing I found is that that was the best way for me to build contacts. That was the best way that I can build contacts, not only to possibly help me up on the way up, but to land some solid clients that will need some work. So it really comes down to having the mindset of a winner, having the mindset of someone of value. Therefore, you give value, and who isn't open to a free sample at the end of the day? I would offer free work all the time because I knew that was my foot in the door to be in the network of these people. Put yourself in the mindset of a winner and start bringing more value to the table than you would even if you were to charge. Because at the end of the day, when you connect with high-level people and you offer them value, they will take good care of you. Just like I'm being taken care of right now. Because I was willing to add so much value. In fact, you can say a week's worth of free value. It was tough, but choose your heart.